Sorry. Okay. Today is Tuesday, November 15, 2022. I call this regular meeting to order at 6:50 p.m. Pledge of Allegiance, led by Vice Mayor Harrington.
Thank you, Mayor. Please rise, place your right hand over your heart, and repeat with me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Clerk, roll call, please.
Mayor Ding,
Here.
Vice Mayor Harrington,
Here.
Councilmember Menchaca,
Here.
Rivera,
Here.
Councilmember Wu.
Here.
Closing section report. Our city attorney will now give the closing section report from a special meeting held earliest tonight.
Sure, Mr. Mayor. The City Council had a special meeting to consider 3 matters in closed session. The first was a conference with legal counsel regarding undisclosed potential litigation. The report was received and no reportable action took place. The second was a performance evaluation for the wonderful city attorney. Again, no reportable action on that one. At that point, we ran out of time, so this last item, as a result, this special meeting is going to be continued until after the regular meeting to discuss the last item, which is the conference with labor negotiators for the organizations identified on the agenda. A report out of that closed session will take place at the beginning of the next regular meeting. Mr. Mayor, that concludes the report.
Thank you, Keith. We will now have some announcement from our chief city clerk.
Tonight's meeting is live streamed on cable channel 3 and our online platforms. If you wish to address the city council during tonight's meeting, we request that you please complete a speaker's card and hand it to the clerk. When speaking, please state your name for the record. If you wish to be added to the distribution list to receive city council agendas, please email your request to cityclerk@sgch.org.
Okay. And number 1, approve the agenda order. Are there any objection to the agenda order? I hear none. The agenda order is approved. Next item, please.
Presentation, ceremonial swearing in of Police Captain Edwin Brock. Police Chief Harris will make the presentation.
Mr. Mayor, Mr. Vice Mayor, members of council, good evening. We are here to reintroduce our brand new captain, Edwin Brock. We introduced him to the public prior to him going down to the uniform shop and getting his uniforms and all of his equipment. So now he's back and we can officially give him that role and bestow the rightful title upon him. We'll go over his bio once more, just so that those who weren't here last time will get an opportunity to know who he is and what he's about. Edwin Eddie James Brock recently served as the chief of police in Irvine, California for the past 18 months. Prior to serving in that position, Eddie served for 27 years with the San Diego Sheriff's Department. He held many positions and progressed through the ranks, such as detentions, patrol, traffic, motors, weapons training, K-9 to name a few. In 2012, Eddie graduated from the FBI National Academy, class number 250. He has earned a Bachelor of Science Administration Justice from a degree from National University, and he is a proud member of the inaugural cohort of the University of San Diego's Law Enforcement and Public Safety Leadership Program, where he earned a master's degree, a Master of Science degree. He has a strong commitment to strengthening the role within our community and our profession, and he takes pride in being a peace officer. His philosophy is dedicated to enhancing this title through training, education, and accountability. Eddie believes that working towards the title covers a multitude of concepts for what he's about, certainly the community policing and among other things. He will always be encouraged to be proactive on calls, address all issues that we find, and help people get to where they need to go by treating them with fairness and dignity. Eddie enjoys reading football reading, football, music, barbecue, smoking, and I'm finding out that barbecue smoking, not barbecue and smoking, barbecue smoking, I think he has that kind of in common with our city manager. I think our city manager likes to smoke sometimes, so barbecue, that's exactly right. I'm finding out that he's pretty funny. We went to lunch today, and he had me rolling off the seat a little bit. He's a funny guy, you'll find that out. He likes to socialize and amongst other activities. He is married to his loving wife, Faye, who is here, and as soon as he is signed in, she will pin on his badge. So if we could go ahead and get him positioned to sign in, Madam City Clerk. Now we'll have his wife, Faith, pin on his badge. This is where the wives get to get back at their husbands when this happens, and sometimes husbands and their wives. Awesome, congratulations. The other important part that we forgot before you step down is that important part of his life outside of his wife and his children is that he is a United States Marine. All right. If we can get the council to come down and maybe take a picture with him now that he's fully clothed in his uniform. I mean, fully uniformed. Yeah, yeah. If you can give a couple words there, Captain Brock.
Mr. Mayor and Council of San Gabriel, thank you once again for being here. Joining this team is a well-oiled machine, and there's not very much room for going slow. I would say I hit the ground running here, but these guys and girls here, they fly the nape of the earth. It's a little bit higher, less tread off the boot, but they get a lot of things done with limited resources. So hopefully, I intend to come here and contribute to what's already working, improve where necessary, and join a very strong team. We have a bright future. I have seen some things in San Diego and a few other places that work very well, and I see just about every single element of those well-working things here in San Gabriel. So I intend to enhance those things, bring them forward, and we'll set the tone for the rest of the law enforcement community in this valley and in this county. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Next item, please.
Public comment. This is the time set aside for members of the public to address the City Council on items of interest that are not on the agenda, but are within the subject matter jurisdiction of the San Gabriel City Council. If you wish to address the council, please fill out a speaker's card and hand it to the clerk. Our first speaker this evening is Dennis Leung.
Dear Mayor and council members, I came here again today because I simply do not want the most successful centers in San Gabriel City to become the ghost center, a ghost town, with just a handful of success business in the center remaining. At the last meeting, it seemed this council seemed to have recognized the problem with this redevelopment plan in Focus Center. And it was said that in November 15, which is today, would be the tentative day for the special hearing. Apparently, it didn't happen. And I just want to say that we must do something, or it will be way too late. I just want to point out a few facts. Number one is that I have not received the notice for the hearing in March 28 for the approval of the redevelopment plan. I spoke to everybody I run into in the city. Nobody saw it. Nobody saw it. Not one single person I spoke to. And another thing that I want to say is that as important as the center is, this is probably the most well-known center for Asian in California. Most important center, the original center that makes San Gabriel basically a landmark. It's going to turn into a ghost town for not a few months, for 18 months possibly. And also, when 270 notices for the hearing is sent out, when no one single tenant showed up for the meeting, you don't have to figure out. You know there is something wrong there in the process. And I would assume that there may be a notice that put in the center somewhere that is supposed to be conspicuous to the tenant, so they would know there will be a hearing that affects their life. But really, nobody saw it. It's a big center, and nobody saw it, and it was not seen in any conspicuous place. But they might have posted. What good does it do is the process. So I really want to ask the council to invalidate, to nullify the March result, the meeting on the 28th. And I will ask for a new date. It has to be fast. I'm suggesting December the 6th could be the next, so that we can have some input from the tenants and to correct what was wrong. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next speaker is Andrew D.
Good evening, City Council. I'd like to speak today on the diversity of our commissions, our city commissions. I've been attending some of the meetings. What I've noticed is our Civil Service Commission has 4 males and 1 female. Our Planning Commission has 5 males and no females. And the HERE Commission, which their mission is, the purpose of advocating for equity, diversity, social justice, has 5 women and 2 men. And I know the HERE Commission, their appointments to the commission are coming up here soon, I think in January of this coming year. And I just wanted to bring that to your attention so that when we do make these appointments to these commissions, that maybe we look at trying to make it as diverse as we can. Because I feel as though in some of when I've noticed some of the hearings that were recorded on YouTube, you could tell that there is a difference in the way men approach the issue as opposed to the way women and vice versa. So I think maybe, the lack of diversity might kind of affect some of the things we do, especially with the Hair Commission, being that that's their purpose, right, is diversity and equity. So that's all I wanted to say. And then since I got a lot of time, we just had an election, and I noticed that if you add up the numbers between the two people that ran for treasurer, which were the highest amount of numbers, there's around 5,000 votes were cast for the for the two candidates. And in my research, I find that there's 19,000 registered voters in San Gabriel. So I tried to reach out to the registrar's office to see about maybe trying to do something where we can kind of, me personally, try to advocate to get people to come out and vote. To have 5,000 people represent the city of 40,000 is kind of, this doesn't look right to me. But there's no way that they will give me any kind of information unless I'm either for or against a proposal or if I was running as a candidate. So I'm just going to reach out to you. I speak to all of you many times, privately, if maybe we could come up with some kind of way that, I would like to be out there to try to advocate for people coming out and voting in our city. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Elaine Sue.
Hello, Mayor and Councilman. My name is Elaine. I want to continue that Dr. Dennis Liang's regarding about the Focus Plaza. And I didn't receive any notice for the March 28 hearing. And the time is very, very important for us. And I would like to, to have a special meeting to held December 6th to invalidate or overturn that March 28th meeting because it was unjust and nobody know about this meeting. And as a business owner, and I truly and honestly is misled and also, kind of like a, treat on a lot of the tenants, the business owners. So I sincerely ask the councilman and mayor please to invalidate that March 28th meeting so we can hold a special meeting on December 6th. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
The next speaker is Ming Xiang. The 3-minute time will be extended to 6 minutes when you're using an
Sorry,
interpreter.
can she help me translate? Is it okay?
就是现在本来是3分钟，现在给了你是6分钟。
我1分钟就够了，
我就是说可以翻译，然后时间有可以到6分钟。
Okay.
Okay, I talking about the extra 3 minutes for the translation. Okay.
各位晚上好，各位晚上好。
Good evening.
因为我上次已经来过了，可是因为我们如果自己再不努力再来多一次的话，我觉得我们等了好久都没什么结果。
Okay, she came to the last meeting and hopefully, something, can happen because time is not on our side. So we needed to resolve this one as soon as possible.
因为我们3月份的确是没有收过任何的通知，然后我们现在时间真的没有了，最后这2个月我们可能就要搬走了，所以能最后来再争取一下下了。
Okay, she did not receive the March 28th hearing, and right now she only have 2 months left, so she has to move after by the end of this year. So she's asking the councilman to help her to invalidate the March 28th meeting and to hold a special meeting on December 6th.
我其实就不多了，就是这些了。谢谢你们，希望你们能帮我们一下吧，就这么多了。
Okay, thank you, Councilman. Hope, you guys can help her to
Thank you so
resolve
much.
this
Thank
issue.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
谢谢，Thank you。
Next speaker is Jessica.
Thank you, give a chance. 我也是那个140 West Valley San Gabriel Fourth Square。我们有在那里是有个 business， 然后上次那个听证会我们来过的。
Okay, she's addressed the same concern, and last meeting, she attended last meeting. So she is sincere to ask the councilman to consider that March 28th meeting, and she did not receive the notice either.
是我们，就是我们希望在座的各位亲爱的，给我们争取一下时间。因为我们之前也没有收到过任何那个通知什么的。
Yeah, she hopes the councilman same thing that please, consider the March 28 meeting to invalidate that meeting, and we can, if you guys can pass to hold the special meeting on December 6th to invalidate that meeting.
然后我们每天都在那里经营着，然后我们不希望这个就是对双方都造成损失。
Okay, so because she has to move out by the end of the year, but she need time because she has not, enough time to find another place, and this just, happened.
就是希望尽快给我们提到议事日程上来。给我们怎么说呢？协助还是配合
Well, hopefully the councilman can help her to invalidate that meeting, just overturn, so maybe to have a new meeting, so all the tenants can attend to voice their opinion.
就我们也盼望着有个好的结局，希望就是需要你们的帮助。
Yeah, she
谢
looks
谢。
forward for the good result, and she need all the councilmen to help.
因为我们的时间很短，现在。
Okay, she doesn't have enough time. The time is very crucial to us.
我们一直在支持着这个广场。
We have been support the plaza for many years. So,
我们还有我们经营了这么多年了，就是希望你们帮助我们继续在这边经营就是的。
okay, hope the councilman mayor to help us to continue our business.
我们喜欢这里，我们喜欢 San Gabriel。
Okay, we like San Gabriel. We like that to stay the business in the Focus Plaza.
好，谢谢，就希望给我们能不能解决这个问题。
Thank you, and look forward that councilman can help us. Thank you.
Thanks.
谢谢。
I have no more cards. Is there anyone else wishing to address council?
All right, next item, please.
Consent calendar. All items listed under the consent calendar are considered routine, and recommendations will be approved in one motion unless a member of the city council or public requests separate discussion. We have not received requests from the public to pull any items.
Okay. Would any council member like to pull any item from a separate discussion? Do I have a motion for the item?
Yeah, I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
Okay, motion made by the Councilmember Michenga and the second by Vice Mayor Harrington. Please vote.
Motion passes by a vote of 5-0.
Next item, please.
Public hearing, second reading and adoption of ordinance number 686, adoption of the 2022 California Building and Fire Codes.
Okay. I now open for the public hearing. The staff presentation will be made by Community Development Management Analysis Chris Cabolia.
I know during the last reading, council was gonna, or approved it. Staff recommends that city council authorize and the city manager to approve the code update.
Does any council member have a technical or factual question for staff to clarify the report? Okay.
Just going to say for the record, Mr. Mayor, there have been no changes since the report that was presented to council
Okay.
2 weeks ago, and we are adopting the majority of what the state building codes are, with the exception of just a couple of local technical amendments that all of the cities in the LA area adopt for seismic and other safety standards. So what you have before you is very routine and very much what other cities are adopting all over the area right now.
Okay. Thank you, Mark. Chief City Clerk, do we have any public comments?
I have no speaker cards. Does anyone wish to address council? No comments, Mayor.
Okay. So I now close the public hearing. So it's now time for the council deliberation and discussion. Who would like to start it?
I don't have any deliberation or comments. I was just going to move that we waive the reading and adopt the ordinance number 686.
I'll second.
Okay. The motion has been made by Councilmember Menchaca and the second by Vice Mayor Harrington. Please vote.
Motion passes by a vote of 5-0.
Next item, please.
We have no continued business this evening. New business item A, Grapevine Guide and Grapevine Newsletter merge. Community Services Manager Matthew Morales-Stevens will make the presentation.
Good evening, Mayor and members of the City Council. I appreciate you taking the time to hear our proposal. We've put a lot of thought into it as far as how we can make the process most efficient, as far as how we're getting communications out in a print method to the residents of the City of San Gabriel. Our Public Information Officer, Clara, as well as Rebecca in our office, our director, we've sat together and come up with what we feel is a comprehensive plan to make the process a bit more efficient and as well as potentially reduce our costs. So right now, the city produces 2 publications, the newsletter through the Management Services Department and the Grapevine Guide through the Community Services Department. So the Grapevine Guide consists of all of our programs, services, resources through the Community Services Department, as well as any events that are upcoming, and that is put out 4 times a year, so on a quarterly basis. Our most robust one comes in during the summer months. Same with the Grapevine newsletter. So that is also put out quarterly, so 4 times a year, and typically focuses more on a broad city news. So if, the most recent one has been the drought, so that would be something that would be most appropriate for the Grapevine newsletter versus the Grapevine Guide. However, what we're proposing tonight is to combine those 2 resources, so that way it's only produced 4 times a year rather than 8 times a year for 2 different publications. Excuse me. The current budget that's set aside for them is $37,000 and $56,000. So $37,000 for the Grapevine newsletter and $56,000 for the Grapevine Guide. So I do apologize, there was a typo in the memo that you've received. Instead of 15,000, it's 37,000 for the Grapevine newsletter. So that's what's currently budgeted by council for the 2 publications. So moving forward, what we would like to see is one publication that is comprehensive of everything. The first one would be a complete rebrand and renaming of the publication. So that way, there's no confusion as to what the purpose of the guide is. There's no confusion as to what information people should be receiving, as well as putting a highlight on city information. So on page 2 of the statement here, we have the cover, which would be page 1, and then the first 4 pages would be all city news. So Clara, our public information officer, had the great idea of reaching out to each department and seeing if there's something that they'd like to highlight. So in summer, it could be economic development, because maybe there's a large development that's coming forward that the community should know about, or maybe in the summer months, we're highlighting PD because of National Night Out. So really giving each department the opportunity to share something that's up and coming in their department, or changes that are happening that the community should be made aware of. 26 pages would consist of everything community services. So right now, the Grapevine guide is 28 pages long. So it's the one that gets mailed out to every house. It's the one that people look for our resources. So that wouldn't change. The format may change a bit, the look would change a bit, but all of those same resources would still be in the combined newsletter. And then of course the back page. So when it says 32 pages, it doesn't mean 32 individual pages. It would actually be 16 pages. So front and back comes out to 32. And typically it's produced in increments of 4. So if that of course could decrease or increase, but it would need to increase or decrease by increments of 4. Overall, as I mentioned, it would decrease duplication of efforts. It would centralize all of the information and make sure that we're not missing anything. So there may be times that potentially the Grapevine newsletter is either producing the same exact information. For example, the tree lighting that's coming up, it's been highlighted in the Grapevine guide, but it'll also be highlighted in the Grapevine newsletter. So yes, in theory, we are getting more publicity for the same event, but in reality, it's actually hitting very similar demographics, because it is hitting the same households, the same businesses, as well as it's displayed at the same counter. So the community services office, city hall, areas such as that's already available to the public. Now, should the council decide that we wanted to add an insert or something that really highlights something, all of the upcoming events or upcoming programs, new things that the city's offering that can be stuck on someone's refrigerator and they don't have to carry around the 32-page brochure, that could be something that could be included in the RFP as well. Of the names that staff have come up with, there's the Discover San Gabriel, Inside San Gabriel, and San Gabriel Happenings. Staff is recommending Discover San Gabriel. Inside of the packet, we've also included 2 samples, the Inside Irvine, as well as a publication put together by the City of Alhambra. You'll notice that both of those publications have the combined general city news, as well as the community services or parks and rec information, so all classes, services, and programs. You'll notice that the City of Irvine's is much longer. It's also a much larger city, so there's much more to put forward. So we're definitely not recommending to put something together in that length. But you'll see that the City of Irvine's publication has a much more modern take. So we would be working with the designer to implement some of the key items that are in the City of Irvine, so they have a cohesive color scheme every publication. Maybe the picture on the front changes, but the color scheme from each quarter will remain the same. Also, it's color-coded for classes, so small details that make it more usable and readable by the residents are all of the things that we'll be looking at as we move through the process. You'll notice the City of Alhambra's is not quite as robust. They are a smaller city in population, but it has 1 page that's dedicated to city news. So So again, our proposal is 4 pages compared to the 1 page that the city of Alhambra puts together. But it gives you a good idea of what it could look like if the 2 publications are merged. Since it's not something that we've offered in the past, we wanted to make sure that you had adequate examples to what that could look like. With that said, our recommendation is that the City Council approve the merge of the Grapevine Guide and Grapevine Newsletter with the name of Discover San Gabriel, and allow staff to begin working on the process of creating a new design and cohesive magazine for release of spring 2023. One key item to mention is that in the process, we would also need to release an RFP for printing, mailing, and design services. As I mentioned, that very first one, so our proposal is spring 2023. The very first publication would be the most amount of work and most likely will cost the most because it will be all of those kind of startup costs, just like you would for a business. The rebranding, the time and effort by staff, as well as the effort put together by the third party that would be selected. After that, we're anticipating that costs will decrease since we're reducing the duplication of efforts. The true cost savings or cost analysis won't come until after the RFP results, the submissions have been received, at which point then we'll bring to council the recommendation, as well as all of the cost analysis that comes with it. With that said, open to any questions you might have.
Does any council member have the factual question for the staff to clarify the report? Okay, Councilmember Wu.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Hi, Steve. Thank you so much for the presentation. I have several questions. I know that you mentioned that there'll be 16 pages, but so that is total 32.
Correct.
After you merge. Do we have any advertisement opportunity for the public that they can do the advertisement? And if there will be more people that are willing to do the advertisements on the, the new, what is that called? The San Gabriel Discover the San Gabriel?
Correct.
Would that be adding up more, and what is the possible revenue for us?
Sure. So I unfortunately don't have the actual revenue figures right now, but we do currently sell ads. So our current provider is Simpson for the Grapevine Guide, and Simpson works with the third parties to sell the ads, which will then reduce our invoice at the end of each quarter. So of course, the more ads we sell, the less that's coming out of the city's general fund for it. But it really depends on how many they're able to secure. So especially during the pandemic, when businesses were a bit tighter, they were less apt to put in an ad, which then made the city's costs higher. I would anticipate that with the combined newsletter and making it more attractive to the public, that it will also make it more attractive to people wanting to advertise as well. But again, I don't have an exact revenue estimate for that.
Awesome. So do you have any plans about to integrate the whole magazines with the social media platforms?
Yes, so Clara, our public information officer, has been doing a phenomenal job of kind of cross-promoting. So we will be, once that launches, all of that will be pushed on social media in the best method possible. As far as the actual receiving the information, that will be part of the strategy as well, because the people that are looking on Instagram, for example, may not be the exact target audience for some of the print publications, which is something that we've seen as well. So including that in the previous publications that go out to the residents, or flyers that are going out to the residents, or postcards saying to look out for the next newsletter, that's where I think it's going to be most effective beyond social media. But of course, social media will be a large asset to us as well.
So that will be also a link in our website, in our city website, right?
Correct. So currently there's a link on the community services page for the guide. Typically the newsletter is made available, and Clara can speak on it a bit more as well. But those are the locations that we currently have it. Clara, did you have anything to add?
Thank you, Matthew. Good evening, Mayor and Council. So I just want to provide a little clarification when it comes to ad space. Councilman Wu, for your question, It has come and gone for each issue. For each quarterly issue, we have sold ads for as little as $400 upwards to $800. Now, during COVID, we were unable to secure any advertising from our businesses, so our costs have gone up to about 20% more than before COVID. In relations to social media, we are having an integrated communications approach at the moment. So our website is the depository for all information. So that is where everything lives, and then everything that has a shorter time span gets pushed to social media. When it comes to print, in terms of publication time frame, we are working at least 1 to 2 months out to get the information out. So sometimes policies come down a little bit too late for that time frame, so we do try to work in a line or two, and then we put on QR codes or links to direct people to follow our social media or to go on our WeChat or our website.
So what about the CDBs? I know that RPIO is doing the CDBs periodically.
Correct.
So are we going to do something like that for the Discover San Gabriel?
So that's a great question. City Beat also pulls information that is happening on a weekly basis as a reminder and information to our residents. Now, the Grapevine publications merge that we're talking about will be a longer lead, so it will not be as short timing. A lot of stories in City Beat happened probably the week before. So for those reasons, a lot of these stories don't make it into a print publication. And so if we're talking about having the online presence in our new print publication, there is going to be some sort of a connection, but it won't be 100%.
So how many, besides the mail out, we are mailing those magazines to our residents? But besides mailing, we have extra print in our city for people to take it for free?
Mm-hmm. Yes, so we contract with Simpson Advertising as well for the Grapevine Guide currently. They pull addresses from the U.S. Postal Service so that they estimate how many should be printed. Whatever is left over is at City Hall. So we usually estimate about 3,000 copies are left.
Okay.
And that gets distributed to different department counters.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Any another council member? Okay. Okay. I have some questions. Like Corolla, so we have 3,000. It's left, but how many? Usually, how many the household we send out?
Household. We send out the latest one for the Grapevine Guide. Sorry, not the Grapevine Guide. Grapevine newsletter. 18,355.
18. Okay, so it's almost near to the numbers for our household, like around 19,000, right? Yeah.
I think, Mayor, the breakdown is about 14,000 households, and the rest are the business addresses in the city.
Oh, I see. Okay, all right. So, but the business we still send it to them too, right?
That's
okay.
correct.
Okay.
Every address in the city.
Okay, all right. And also, I hope that you have any chance to bring out some sample for current the Grapevine Guide and the Grapevine the newsletter. Did you have any sample?
Right now, currently.
They give it to our council. Has some idea.
Sorry, was the question of previous publications that we've had,
Yeah.
or
Yeah,
a
probably,
sample of
previous
what it
one,
could
yeah.
look like?
Yeah, just looks like it. So I just wanna if that YouTube public can see it, so what kind of sample. So we combine together probably what kind of, I know that this one. But
Correct.
yeah, that's the guideline, right? Another one, it's I think like a newspaper.
Correct.
Something like that, right? Okay.
Yeah, so the Grapevine Guide looks exactly like a magazine, and that was really the intention of it. The Grapevine newsletter is meant to look like a newspaper. It is printed in color on the glossy paper just like this, but it's typically, I think it's only like 2 pages, and then folds out from there. That that one has the translations on it as well. So that's the major difference as well, is that the current publication of the Grapevine Guide, it does not include any translations, whereas the Grapevine newsletter has partial translations. Thank you for pulling that up.
Okay, all right. But translation, you're talking about have some different language?
Correct. So the translations would continue in the merge. We wouldn't be able to translate everything in the guide, otherwise it would be far more than 32 pages. However, the things that are of most importance to the community, we'd want to make sure to translate into Chinese, Vietnamese, and Spanish. So those are the three that will likely be translated in.
Okay.
Of course, we'll have to get the translation costs for that. I'll go back to the example of the drought information. So as far as the water regulations, that's not information that you can just skip on, right? So that's information that all members of the public, regardless of what language they prefer or need to read in, would be translated. Whereas our classes, for example, wouldn't be translated.
Yeah, I think so. So actually, just basic 4 pages for the based on your proposal, it's general city information will be translated, right? And the rest of like class, I don't think if everything translated, maybe costs a lot of page too.
Correct.
And also, it's for the councilmember Wu asking the advertising. Did you have any like percentage? How many pages will be go for the advertising, or just based on the information?
Sure, so it typically depends on the space that we have available. So there's, especially during the summer months, we have very limited space available to add in additional advertisements, whereas fall, we can add in a bit more advertising space. It also depends on what the person is looking for. So the business may only want a quarter page, but during that publication, there may not be a quarter page available. There may only be a half page available. Thank you, Clara.
Okay.
And Clara did bring in some hard copies, so we can pass this around if you would like.
You can show them. Hopefully,
Sure.
public can see it. You know?
Sure.
So.
Yeah. So it does fold out, and we
Okay.
can definitely
yes,
look at offering something
okay.
like this. But
I saw that, yeah.
Yeah, but what we're proposing is something very similar to the Grapevine Guide, where it would be more brochure-like, magazine-like in nature.
It's more easy to carry out, right?
Correct.
Okay. All right. So yeah, that's my the question. So you okay? Councilmember Rivera.
Hi, Matthew. Does this go out to the unincorporated area of San Gabriel too, or just the San Gabriel city?
It only goes out to the city of San Gabriel.
Do residents have an option to opt out of it if they don't want to receive it, or is it like mandatory?
Not to my understanding, it just goes directly to their home.
Okay.
Okay. So. Okay. All right. Vice Mayor Harrington.
Thank you, Mayor. Matthew, is there a reason we're going away from the word grapevine? I mean, it's been here forever and ever and ever, and I think people are used to that name. Did we use
Sure.
that?
So the staff's thought process was just to come up with something that was fresh and encapsulating of every department and everything that would be actually in the publication. So yes, the Grapevine is neutral, but we wanted to make sure that the name of the publication was reflective of the information that was actually inside. So the Grapevine has been obviously identified as something that is substantial within the city. Same could be said of the mission within the city. But what we wanted to do is make sure that people, even if you weren't a resident and you walked up to the counter and you knew nothing about the city of San Gabriel, well, I want to discover San Gabriel. I want to find out what's happening in the city. They can kind of be already gravitated towards the publication without even having to open it. So that was the intention behind it. We can definitely come up with a name that encapsulates the Grapevine as well, but that was the thought behind the proposal.
I heard it through the grapevine. Might be patented, but discovered through the grapevine. The second question, or not question, I think, assuming we're going to go forward with one publication, I really liked a few of the elements of the Irvine and a few of the elements of the Alhambra, but I think the one I'm looking at is the Alhambra lists everything on one page, like every single thing, and I don't think we're doing anything like that right now.
Correct. Yeah, so the goal would not be to make it a exhaustive list of information. So what we like about what we're doing currently, as well as what the city of Irvine does, is they make it really clear and digestible, to where it's not just this
A list.
essay.
A list, yeah.
Right. So that's would be something that we would want to stray away from in the revamp.
And so one thing that I will tell you that one of the most things I get requested, because I usually carry them with me, is the frequently contacted numbers.
Okay.
And the foldout we have downstairs.
Mhm.
So I mean, people are always asking for those because they want to know who's our trash collector, who's our water company, who. I get those questions all the time.
Definitely.
And so I think we don't have to be exhaustive like Alhambra, but some of those things in there would be great.
Definitely.
Councilmember Menchaca.
Yeah, I'll ask my questions after we hear from the public comment.
Okay. Actually, the Vice Mayor Harrington already asking. So we designed the city information. You already plan to put on all the our city information, like police department, fire department, even waste company, the hauler, okay, and also for the big item pickup, say this kind of information you plan put on that.
Correct.
Okay,
Yeah,
all right.
so on page 24 of the fall guide, there is already a list of community groups and different resources that people can contact.
Okay.
So it would be expanding upon that and making sure that all of those are still of great interest to
Okay,
people,
all right.
and making sure that it's differentiated as well. So as you can see, it's broken up by community groups, youth activities, volunteer opportunities, and mission district museums. But what it doesn't include is maybe how to contact the Athens or all of those different kind of crucial things to your daily life of being a resident here in San Gabriel.
How about business license, planning, this kind of phone number? I think this.
Most definitely. Yeah, so since it would be a combined publication, all of that would be included.
Yeah, because the business owner, they're always asking who they're talking about. So,
Yeah.
If we have the listing, it will help. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So, if no more clarified questions, and Chief City Clerk, do we have any public comments?
I have no speaker cards. Is anyone wishing to address council? No comments, Mayor.
Okay. It's now time for the council discussion. Who would like to start it? Okay.
I'll start. Okay, well, thank you, Matthew, and then Clara. I do have some questions. I know we've kind of talked about it briefly earlier today. I do like Discover San Gabriel. It is definitely much more encompassing. I know I still get questions, what is the Grapevine? And, you're right. It is, there's more to us than just the Grapevine. But my first question is.
Sorry, so can we just interpret that someone need a health break? Okay. Okay. Yeah, I know. So that's why I interpreted. Sorry about that. So, and we just 5 minutes. Is it okay? And come back at 7:50. Okay. It's I got someone request. Okay. All right. Okay, all right. It's now time for the continue for the council discussion. So, Councilmember Menchaca, please, continue.
Great, thank you. So I was mentioning earlier that I do like Discover San Gabriel, but I wanted to find out, even though it's 16 pages, 32 pages, you know, either way, that is so much paper that I think is going to waste. Not everybody wants to read through the guide, because I think that's what we're really looking at is the guide. And so my question is, it was asked kind of earlier along the lines that if there was a way of either putting our QR code or a phone number, if people want to opt out, I think especially kind of a generational kind of thing. I know certain ages want everything online. They don't want any paper, and they want a safe paper. I mean, we're talking about the environment. I think just to make it much more current, that needs to be given as an option for households that don't want any paper. I know on the QR code, it gets very complicated because people still own phones that can't read QR codes. So you have to put a phone number. So I'd like to see that. But I also would like to learn from Clara. I know she talked about going to some conferences. What are the best practices that are taking place with other cities? Because in Irvine is, yeah, I know it's a bigger city, but I can guarantee you not everyone is reading all this. I mean, this is huge. And even Alhambra, it's a lot of paper. What are some of the changes that other cities that you've seen are making as opposed to just doing all this paper?
Sure. So what I've seen from a lot of cities, I think their strategies depends on their demographics and what their reading habits are. So some of those cities with younger demographics are looking at still doing publications like this, but they're not printing it. They're only having it available online, so they're doing a flipbook style of PDF, or they are completely going away from some sort of formal publication and going straight to just relying on their website and social media as a way to proactively communicate with their residents and businesses. Some other cities are still keeping some sort of publication, but they are making it very, very short-formed, or they're launching some sort of subscription model. So very similar to, Councilwoman, your idea of opting out. Instead of opting out, they're asking people to subscribe to receive a print publication. So they're looking at different models, and a lot of them are still in the test mode right now. I have reached out to other cities who are testing out these models. I haven't heard back about pros and cons yet. I'm sure they are also figuring that out at the moment. But I will say a lot of different cities are also going through kind of this growth phase right now and figuring out what works best for the cities.
Okay, yeah, because I think this is an opportunity to do things differently, not just the name, but offering our businesses and our households options, because everyone is consuming information so differently, and I don't think we're any different. So I would like to, put that in the process somehow, maybe a hybrid, but giving people that option. Second, you talked about demographics. I agree, and maybe it's a Matthew question too, is, our demographics are clearly, we're multilingual. English just doesn't work for everybody. And I know there's been, our residents more than we do in some cases. What can we do to make sure this publication reaches as many people? I know that you have this kind of process where you use WeChat, which is a very popular communication medium, but is there something else that maybe we're missing so we can be able to communicate with our businesses and our households that don't speak English? Because this is all in English. I mean, there will be maybe parts of it that would be either Spanish or Chinese or Vietnamese, but what is that going to look like? Is it going to be a couple pages, or is it just going to be a blurb that says, like what we do with the Grapevine newsletter, where there's like a little blurb that says, if you want it in Chinese, contact us?
So the 20, let me reference back here, the 26 pages that would be focused on community services, events, and services would be primarily in English. Really, the only things that would be translated into other languages would be any resources or like large-scale events. For example, the Surf's Up event or Fall Fun Festival, where it's open and available to every member of the public, and there's no language barrier once you arrive. So our concern with translating, let's say, a class, for example, is you can offer the translation, but then the actual class is only offered in English. So it's almost just setting the person up for failure once they register with false hope. Whereas the information, the first 4 pages, are all things that could be easily translated within those pages. So rather than small tidbits, it would be a bit more robust than what would be currently offered in the newsletter. It doesn't mean that every word verbatim would be translated, but we could definitely do more than what's currently being offered in the newsletter.
Yeah, I just like to see if that could be expanded. I'm not expecting all 32 pages to be translated, but, you know, just some key areas, because I agree with one of the other comments. It would be great if, you know, there's certain pages that people just navigate to, and it's the informational page or frequently asked questions. You know, it would be great if there was a way of, like being able to pull it out so you're not destroying the whole guide, but you know, they could put it on the refrigerator or they could take a picture of it or something, but some kind of pull out. I don't know if that's possible, but those are the important ones. The, you know, whether it's the informational one, it's about Athens, it's about reporting graffiti. I mean, there's certain questions that seem to be they repeat themselves over and over again, and I'm sure you could talk to Public Works. They probably have data on all that, but that would be really great if we can have it in such a way that they don't have to dig for it, that it's readily available. I don't know if it's the last page or maybe towards the front, but I just don't see people reading all 32 pages. It's just not going to happen. So making sure that those particular pages are highlighted. And I don't know how, but I'm just making the suggestions. And then you mentioned the classes, and so that was something else I just wanted to consider. You know, most of at least the one we've done in the past, when I'm looking at Irvine and Alhambra, most of the papers or the pages are about the classes. And, you know, is that the best use of time or best use of our pages? What I'm trying to say is, would it be better if we had, like, if you're interested in our classes, you know, you can go here, or, you know, do we have to print so much? Because again, most people don't take these classes. You know, it's great information, but I'm just wondering, does it really need to be in the guide? Is there a better place to have it? You know, I don't know. It's just something to consider, because that's really the bulk of it, right? Out of the majority of it is the classes, and so, you know, is there a better way of doing it? I don't have the answer. I'm just kind of bringing it up, because even Alhambra, I know they had, you know, the classes too. Everyone seems to have the classes, but is that really a different publication more so than for this publication? I don't know. It just seems like if people want to know, if they want to take classes, then they should be able just to get something, you know, come down to community services, come down to City Hall, and just, here's all the classes we offer, or go online. Something to consider, but I would like to see the guide to be more useful, so people actually look forward to it, as opposed to, oh, you know, here's all these classes that I'm not interested in, I don't have time, but boy, am I interested in knowing about, you know, the drought, or something that's much more informative. And then again, as Clara mentioned, or you mentioned, yeah, if there was a way also to integrate all this, because not everybody reads paper anymore. And so whether it's social media, the website, WeChat, Weibo, whatever, it just goes on and on, you know, just continuing on with that integration. And and just listening to what other cities, seeing what other cities are doing too, because we're just at a whole different level now, especially with COVID. The whole information delivery has changed so much. And so, I'm glad you, as a team, are came to that realization and are making these proposals. I'm just making more suggestions, is my observations. So thank you for doing this.
Thank you. Who's next? Vice Mayor Harrington? Councilmember Rivera?
I'm just trying to understand something. I know that the unincorporated area of San Gabriel belongs to LA County technically, but you still have residents that would like to enjoy the San Gabriel City events or information. Is there a reason why we don't send it to them instead of having 3,000 or 4,000 copies that are left over to just kind of sit there? Wouldn't we rather just mail those out to maybe people who wanted to register to receive them in the unincorporated area of San Gabriel?
Sure. So for the Grapevine Guide, it is just within the city of San Gabriel bounds as far as who's it's actually mailed to. And we don't have that many left over, so we've decreased that over the years because we don't like to throw away all of these copies. And most of the time, we actually have none by the time that the next one comes around. So it would increase the cost as far as printing to send it to the unincorporated areas. That could be an option to where we have that as an opt-in option for those regions. It would be something that would need to be identified. So it's similar to the Dial-A-Ride program where it's a service that's needed in the area, but it's not something that is offered currently. There's, of course, other services in that area, but our Dial-A-Ride service, our Ride SG Plus, does not service that area. So the postage costs would increase, the printing costs would increase. So those would be something that we can take a look at in the RFP process as far as what that cost differentiation would be. And then if council wanted to make a determination from there. Unfortunately, I don't know how many homes or businesses there are in there.
Well, because you have a lot of families that still attend San Gabriel schools within the San Gabriel School District. And I mean, if you're offering classes of some sort, in the city of San Gabriel, or you're even offering, or you're even advertising events, those kids and those families might live in the unincorporated area of San Gabriel, but their kids still attend San Gabriel schools.
Of course.
So I think, to be a little inclusive in that sense would make sense.
Of course.
Vice Mayor Harrington.
So just an idea, I think the opt-in, opt-out is a good plan. I think that should probably be on every edition, just have the QR code so people can go to the website, opt-in, opt-out, because it's, we have a lot of turnover, and I wouldn't want to have one address opt-out and then forever be opted out, and someone moves in a year later, and I didn't realize that these publications exist. So yeah, there should be an opt-in, opt-out, and have it on every edition, and then also on the website, you should be able to have the QR code there.
Definitely.
And then just thinking, if we're going to be having extra copies, we could leave, like 25 or 50 at every school as well, like just in the office on the front desk.
That's another option. But I just think we should be inclusive to the children that do attend San Gabriel schools, or the families that do attend San Gabriel schools, even though they live in the unincorporated area of San Gabriel.
Great.
Councilmember Wu, right? Okay. So, yeah, and opt-out, sometimes you should be also think about the people if they change it, they move out and then move in, how they can know they can receive it, because the previous resident is also already say opt-out. So I need to consider that relation too.
Well, that's what Vice Mayor Harrington was talking about.
Yes, I think we just put a term on it. So if you opt out, it's 3-4 years maybe, and then it automatically comes back, and then it has the opt out on the new one. So if someone gets it, We can say when you opt out, you can continue to opt out and just keep like every 3 or 4 years. They can even have a notice to their phone and they can say, I'm not opting out because I've moved. I mean, with the way apps work, it's simple programming. It's not difficult to do.
But when they're moving, they don't notify us, right?
No, but I mean, they would get, so if you opted out, that phone number would get,
All right, okay,
in a couple of years saying you're about to be opted back in unless you say no.
okay.
Yeah, and I think it's important if people want to opt out, we need to give them that option, because I also hear people get frustrated. It's like, I don't want paper, I
Yeah,
want.
I agree, you can opt out, but you also have consideration for the new tenant or new resident, how they can receive the information. So that's, I think about it
Yeah.
too, yeah.
Perfect. So kind of an opt-in, opt-out may require a bit more technology than we currently have, so we can definitely look into that. In the back of my mind, I'm thinking all of the different ways that we currently do it, that we could make that work. It may not be as robust or as technology savvy as what you have in mind, but it could work. With regards to, let's say, a resident opts out of the publication and then someone moves into their home, a month later, we do have the other outlets of information. So the Public Information Office puts out information on the social media platforms, as well as the City Beat newsletter, as well as we put out the magazines at all of the events that we have. So all of those could be available. So let's say once a month, we remind all of the residents that are enrolled in the City Beat newsletter that we have this publication available, and you can choose to now opt in if you do choose to do so. So all of those kind of, I think back to Councilmember Wu's point of how can we make sure that all of those, or maybe it was Councilwoman Menchaca, so I apologize, kind of make them all work together to support each other. So that way social media isn't on its own silo, separate from the publication. So that way if a new person comes in, they're made aware of it and they don't have to wait until, a year later when that opt-out has now expired or something like that. They always have that option available to them.
And to use this tool, like I still mentioned that like very important the phone number, but you also can put on like our social media and like some QR code, like for Facebook or whatever, they can access the Grapevine, it's a guideline, or future maybe called the Discover San Gabriel, right? Okay, all right. Sorry. Okay, but actually I wanted for the one page, then can see all the phone number. Like actually I just checked it. Like a lot of people asking me how they can reach out. Like Rebecca regarding the Mission Playhouse use. So and the Grapevine they use. So what's the direct phone line? It's if you have the one page, it's really help to I can pass out to the people asking for,
Definitely.
Yeah, and maybe by the way, if you use this page, I suggest the Mark, maybe we can put on this one page the information for our website too. People can easy to access to read it and then print out too. For the class, okay, and I know the Councilman Menchaca mentioned that because first of all, right now, maybe some resident it's not accessible for the website. That's the we need the consideration. But otherwise, I really like her idea. So you just put on a class and then go to the access the website and have detailed the schedule on that and the PDF file. If people want to print out, they can print out by themselves. But we need to calculate how many people is really can accessible the website or internet or cell phone. Yeah, maybe 50 years later, maybe all the people can do that, right? Yeah, right now, they still have some elder people. They still need to read the paper. So that's maybe we can do the research on that.
Yeah, Thank you, Mayor. So we do collect data constantly on how people reading habits are. So if you notice in the Grapevine news, you'll find that the Chinese translation section is much shorter than the Spanish section, and that is because a lot of our Chinese reading communities are reading on WeChat instead of reading in paper. So in that sense, because we know of their reading habits there, we do make that adjustment and cater to their reading habits. For Spanish reading communities, we don't have that sort of social media that it's very widely used right now, so that is the reason why we still have a lot of that. So we will continue to monitor that, and then if there's any changes, we'll make that changes accordingly as well.
Thank you.
Just one note on the class component. Since those are fee-based classes, if we remove them from the merged guide, it's possible that or Discover San Gabriel publication, that the revenue decreases if potentially people are used to receiving the information one particular way. So it's just something to keep in mind. It doesn't mean that it won't increase the subsequent sessions, but it's fairly likely that if the mode of information changes, that first session is probably going to see a pretty substantial impact as far as registrations and then thereby revenue that the city is receiving. So not to deviate away or scare away from that, but just as a note moving forward.
Yeah, I think that if the more pages, you have more chance for the advertising, so more revenue, right? So that's also need to think about it. Maybe do the research, see what's the best. Yeah. And so next one, I think we staff recommendation. Want to merge this, and also we discussed the name, right? So is other council member, it's okay for the staff recommendation, Discover San Gabriel and Inside San Gabriel and San Gabriel happening.
I was just going to move to, for the recommendation that's been made. So I'll motion to approve.
Okay. So.
I'll second.
Okay. And a motion made by the Councilmember Menchaca, a second by Councilmember Rivera. Please vote.
Motion passes by a vote of 5-0.
Next item, please.
Cash and Investment Report, October 2022. Finance Director Kahola Kula will make the presentation.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of the City Council. Tonight, it is my pleasure to provide a brief presentation on the city's cash and investment program, as well as the October cash and investment report. The city's investment policy requires that the finance director submit a investment report on a monthly basis that provides a clear picture of the status of the city's investment portfolio. The report must include specific things in the report. There's the list of the items that must be included in the investment report, as well as number 10 at the bottom, a statement that the city is able to meet its expenditures for the next 6 months, or an explanation to the alternative. So here is the October 31st, 2022 cash and investment report. Just kind of want to explain the report, and then we'll talk about the cash and investment program after. But so on this page 1 of 2 of the report, we begin at the top with the non-invested cash accounts. So we have our bank accounts and our petty cash. The city has a total of 6 bank accounts. We have petty cash at various departments, and we have a change fund at the Mission Playhouse. for October 31st, 2022. The total cash and deposits is 1.9 million. And moving down to the lower portion of the page, we have our city investments. The city is invested in a local agency investment fund. This is an investment pool that is administered by the California State Treasurer. From a liquidity standpoint, we can receive our money within 24 hours, so it's entirely liquid. The current interest rate of our lay funds is 1.772%, which fluctuates with the market. And the current amount that we have deposited with LAIF is about $29.4 million. The second investment that the city owns is a certificate of deposit with Citizens Business Bank. This is the collateral for the Public Works loan. The certificate of deposit matures on January 20th, 2025. It's currently earning 0.6%, and the balance of that certificate of deposit is $6.5 million. Total cash investments as of October 31st, 2022 is $37,841,805. On the second page of the cash and investment report, we get into a little more detail of our investments. Starting at the top, we have our LAIF investment. We show what percentage of the portfolio the investment makes up. For LAIF, it's 82%. On the right, we disclose if there's any policy restrictions on the investment. For LAIF, there are no policy restrictions as required by our investment policy. And then we get down into the other investments that the city has. We have our certificate of deposit with Citizens Business Bank. This investment is actually excluded from the investment policy. And so you can see the line before that. CDs, we currently don't have any other CDs, but the policy restriction for certificate of deposit is it can make up no more than 10% of the portfolio, and the maximum maturity is 5 years. We provide additional comparative data in our cash and investment report. We have a year's worth of monthly comparative in invested balances, and then we move over to the change from month to month. So we can see as of October 2022, the invested cash balance is $35.9 million. It's an increase of $99,476. And then on the far right, we have historical LAIF rates, currently at 1.772%. And you can see back in October 2021, the LAIF rate was at 0.203%. That's when the interest we were earning on the Citizens Bank CD was actually a pretty good deal. And then finally, there's the policy compliance statement, where we state that all investments held by the city are in compliance with the city's investment policy, and we do have enough liquid cash to pay our expenditures for the next 6 months. So that's the October 2002 cash and investment report. So here are the authorized investments as per our city's investment policy. So we'll start at the bottom. We have our local agency investment fund, which we are currently invested in, time deposits, which are certificates of deposits, where we have one of them. And then moving up to the two highlighted areas, staff is looking to actually increase investments in U.S. Treasury obligations and U.S. agency obligations. These securities is basically debt of the U.S. government and U.S. agencies. The U.S. Treasuries and some U.S. agency obligations are backed by the full faith and credit of the U.S. government. And the maximum maturity for these securities is 5 years, and there's no limit on the amount that can make up the city's portfolio. These investments will allow the city to earn a little more interest on investments while remaining extremely safe. For example, currently the one-year Treasury is earning over 4.5%, while the LAIF rate is at 1.772%. So in order to access treasuries, agencies, and other investment types, staff has been working to set up the investment structure to be able to access these investments. It begins with opening an account with a third-party custodian. The third-party custodian basically acts as an escrow agent in a real estate transaction. When the city goes to purchase an investment, the city will deliver the funds and delivery instructions to the custodian. The custodian will receive the security from the broker. The custodian will verify that what was delivered is what was intended to be purchased. If everything matches up, then the custodian will release the security to the city and release the funds to the financial institution. The city has opened up an account with Bank of New York Mellon to act as its third-party custodian. Secondly, we added authorized financial dealers. In order to access the security markets, you need to have a broker-dealer to present the securities for purchase. The city issued a request for information for brokers, dealers. We received a response. After interviews, reviewing the RFI and fully vetting the brokers, a list of 3 authorized brokers was established. And then finally, there's cash flow analysis. The city completes a monthly cash flow analysis of the city's cash flow needs, as well as taking into consideration any non-regular items like capital projects. So we have our custodian, our third-party custodian. We have brokers that will present securities to us, Treasury securities and U.S. agency securities, and then we'll monitor our cash flows in order to determine how much we can invest in those securities that would take it outside of a liquid type life investment. There are, besides having a third-party custodian, there are other policy safeguards. One is the primary objectives of our investment policy. Our primary objectives are safety, liquidity, and yield. The safety of our investment principle is the foremost objective. This is the preservation of principle. That's why the investments we select are very, very safe. U.S. Treasuries and U.S. agency securities. Liquidity, ensuring that the city has enough cash on hand to meet all of its upcoming expenditures so that it wouldn't have to sell one of those securities before maturity. The intent of all of the securities purchased is to hold it to maturity. And then lastly, of the objectives is yield, looking for low-risk securities with a fair return. Additionally, there's internal controls. 2 individuals are required for all transactions. And then lastly, the investment policy requires the prudent investor standard. A trustee shall act with care, skill, prudence, and diligence under the circumstances then prevailing. So that concludes my presentation. I can take any questions or comments you may have.
And just, Mr. Mayor and members of the council, just want to add, thank you, Will, so much for doing that presentation. The reason I asked Will to put this on was for 2 reasons. One, we do go over the cash and investment report during the budget adoption every year, but that's, when we're adopting several hundred pages of documents and we're updating our policies. So I don't think it gets the standalone highlight that it deserves. And second of all, for those of you who have been around for a few years, though we were never at any risk of bankruptcy, there were times when our cash flow was not what we needed it to be. And so all of our cash and our investments have been in very liquid accounts. But luckily, with the help of the city council, the guidance of the council, and the work of our executive team and the community, we've been able to accumulate enough that we don't have to worry about any day-to-day cash flow needs. And so we are wanting to invest in different accounts than what you've been used to seeing. And so on your monthly report, sometime over the next month or 2, you'll start to see different investments show up on this report that is on your consent calendar every month. And I wanted the council and the community to be able to hear about some of this before those first investments show up on that cash and investment report, so that you're not caught off guard as to why things are looking different. And again, I'll just underscore what Will is talking about, which is our first and primary goal is safety of the city and the taxpayers' funds, and any investments we make will be with that as our number one goal. So thank you, Mr. Mayor, and Will and I do stand ready to answer any questions that the council has.
Thank you, Will, and Mark. And does any council member have have factual question for staff to clarify the report? Okay, Chief of City Clerk, do we have any public comments?
I have no speaker cards, Mayor.
Okay. And it's now time for the council discussion. Who would like to start it? Okay. So, is it right now the interest rate is going up? So, is there any investment we can just very secure, like a CD or something like that?
The U.S. Treasury, the 1-year U.S. Treasury is at is about 4.5% right now.
4.5.
Yeah. So our current interest that we're earning from LAIF is 1.772.
Okay.
So that's about 2.77%. And so then there is an opportunity, we will earn additional investment income.
Okay. All right. Okay. So hopefully inflation going up, but the interest thing going up maybe help our reserve fund have the earning some more interest, right?
No, I think this is a good thing, that the city has money to invest, so that the public knows that the city is not going bankrupt, like a lot of people think. After that report that came out a couple of months ago.
So, okay. It's still, I think, maybe which one for the Citizen Bank, right? Citizen the business bank. So they give it to us right now still 0.6%.
Yeah. Yes. 0.6%.
Because of the contract.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
Going back to 2015.
So no have any chance they get more interest for us?
Yeah, normally, when you do a 10-year CD, you're kind of locked in and you just kind of ride the wave of the market. It was good when LAIF was at 0.2. We were feeling really good because we were earning 0.6. And now that LAIF is at 1.7, we're like, it'd be nice to get that money out of there and then put it in LAIF at least.
But adding to that just a little bit, once we close our books out and we have our audit done at the end of the year, Will and I are going to do an analysis on the Public Works loan and whether we should pay that off with some of our cash, and also whether we should look at the penalty for breaking that CD and what that extra investment. I can't promise that we'll recommend that we do any of that, but we'll be bringing that discussion back to council sometime in probably late January or early February.
Okay. Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Will. So we don't need a vote, right? Just still. We don't need to make any motion, right? Okay. All right. So next item, please.
Is there anyone wishing to address council for the second public comment?
Okay. And the city manager report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I just wanted to talk tonight a little bit about our schedule for the remainder of the year. And all of this is going to be tentative depending on what the county does with the election count. But as of right now, the schedule that we have from the county says that they will end with the canvass of the election, meaning that all of the votes will be tallied by December the 5th. So that's a Monday, the day before our council meeting on December the 6th. If they give it to us on December the 5th as they intend, that would be too late for us to agendize that for December the 6th. And actually that works out okay for us because we have on December the 6th, we have our tree lighting ceremony across the street, all of our holiday festivities. Santa comes on the fire truck. And we also have all of our employee awards that night. So that is a bit of a busy night. But if we need to, we would be more than happy to work in the council items that night as well. But it works out if they end up getting us the results on December the 5th, then my recommendation would be that we have a special meeting on December the 13th, which would be the following Tuesday. And then we would have the items that night for the adoption of the election results and then the reorganization of the city council. That's tentatively the way it's set up. If council liked, we could push that off to December the 20th instead of having a special meeting. But my, just trying to guess what the council would be after, I'm thinking you'd be rather having a December 13th than a December 20th meeting. But staff can do either one. The only way this would change would be as if the county was able to beat their estimate and get us the results earlier in the week prior, like Wednesday or Thursday of that week. The way that the law reads, we have to do it at the next city council meeting, the next regular meeting. So if they do get it to us early the week prior or even before Thursday the week prior, then we would have to have it on the December the 6th meeting. So we'll keep council posted, obviously, as we get those results and what that looks like. But just for the time being, please put December the 13th in your calendars unless that does not work for somebody for whatever reason. And then the second thing is the January 3rd meeting. City Hall is closed. The city offices are closed on January the 2nd for the New Year's holiday because New Year's falls on Sunday. And so my proposal would be to cancel that January 3rd meeting, and then we would have that break. If council has no problem with that, I will be recommending canceling that meeting. And we can stay tuned on the December 20th meeting. If we have only a couple of items, we can put those on the December 13th meeting, and we can even cancel the December 20th meeting. So I know that was a lot of dates and a lot of information. In a nutshell, please plan on a December 13th meeting if the county is able to continue with what they suspect. And thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mark. Council comments and the conference meeting report. Who would like to do the first?
Okay. I'm going to start, and then Councilmember Wu is going to talk about this afternoon. Yesterday morning at the Mission Playhouse, there was a celebration of life for Almonte Police Chief Ben Laurie. He succumbed to cancer. He was 45 years old. He was a local. He went to Wilson Elementary, to Jefferson Junior High. It was called Junior High in those days. And then San Gabriel High School. So he was a matador. And the city of Almonte and the police department showed tremendous gratitude to our city. I had the privilege of knowing Ben Laurie, and his family asked that the celebration take place in our city because he still loved our city so much. I mean, this is where he grew up. And between the Mission Playhouse team and the San Gabriel Police Department, it was amazing, the coordination. There was law enforcement from so many cities, including Chief Michael Moore, Sheriff Alex Villanueva was there, but it was just a really touching tribute to a great man. So I just wanted to pass along the comments that were given to me, not only from the city council from El Monte, but just family members and just other police departments. It was very fitting, and his family was very large, 4 children, but he had his twin brother there and his parents, and it was just a beautiful ceremony. So I'm just very proud that our city we were able to accommodate. So that's all I wanted to report for now, and then I'll pass it to Councilmember Wu so he can talk about this afternoon.
Thank you, Councilmember Machanka. And Yes, this afternoon at 2 o'clock, Mayor Dean, Councilmember Machanga, Councilmember Rivera, and myself, and also our city staff, our city manager, Mark Lazaro, we have attended the ceremony, the sign ceremony, between we call the Chinatown Service Center and also the police department. And because we call CSC, which is the Chinatown Service Center, they actually sponsor us for the iPad that allows our police officers, they can just promptly to search for the translation service when they are doing the law enforcement, and they will actually to deal with anyone that speaks other language than English, that they can just push one button and they're able to get the translator right away. So we really appreciate that the Chinatown Service Center, they have their generosity that to provide the iPad system, and will be enhanced the service from our police officers and department. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Wu. And Councilmember Rivera.
This week, also Mayor Dean, Councilwoman Denise Menchaca, and Councilman John Wu and I attended a luncheon given by the Kiwanis for our veterans, to honor all of our veterans. Thank you, Matthew, for putting that together. I know we still have a lot of work, but hopefully we can work on getting a list of the veterans in the city, so that we can have a much, much bigger turnout next year. So it was good. It was attended by Judy Chu and a representative from Mike Fong, who gave out certificates to the Kiwanis Club for putting it together, and also gave certificates to the city for putting that together. So it was it's always very touching to see veterans there and their families, or just their families. I think that we as a city can do better with our veterans, and I hope that in the future we come up with something where we can. So, thank you.
Okay. Yeah, okay. So, yeah, last two weeks, I think we have another event that our city hold, and thanks to our community service to do. I don't know how to pronounce the laws, moitos, okay. It's I have we have the Councilman Wu and the Councilman Menchenka and the Councilman Rivera by myself to attend it. For me also, it's impressed for this event, and a lot of kids come out, right? They show that they're Latino, the cultural and the history. So it's really impressed. And last week also, I'm a Kiwana member too, right? And council member Menchenka is the president. So rest of it, I think the Councilmember Wu and Rivera, it's member too, right? So we are proud to have this kind of lunch with our veterans. So for myself, it's really appreciate, and I'm first generation the immigration. We come here, we really appreciate the veteran to protect our country, and the man and woman do the good job for us. So we cannot forget them. We have to use this veteran to memorize them and recognize them. And I saw a lot of they attended the veterans. They really appreciate our city to do that, and thanks to the community service to coordinate this event. And and this afternoon it's really meaningful. The signage. It's actually our current community. We're talking about mental health help. So we have this kind of opportunity, especially the Chinatown service. They can provide the multi-language and use the high technology, and virtually can help our policemen and the firemen to, if we have some like mental health problem or translation, they use the iPad. It's like virtually can see each other to help each other. So to know, okay. So I really appreciate the China National Service. They choose our city to have this kind of service to provide for us, and they also provided the iPad to our city. So we don't need to purchase. They provide. And actually, system it looks like use the iPad to dial and connect it. Another party, the provider, they also use the iPad. So it's you can like virtually face to face to let the people really need help. So yeah, I think this one I need to mention use the Chinese too. Okay, for our Chinese community. 今天下午哈，我们有跟China National Service Center 有签一个合约哈，就是帮助有 mental health 的问题的人，有一个就是可以有中文或者广东话、国语广东话，还有Spanish 的 translation， 而且是用 iPad 直接就可以 face to face 可以看到的，所以对一些家庭情况有碰到有就是 mental health 的问题的话，我也是希望，如果说我们华人里边有听到这样的消息的话，可以用不要浪费这样的资源哈，就是利用这个资源呢，可以来得到帮助哈。这个是我也是谢谢the China National Service do a good job, and our police department chief do a good job too. You know, okay. 有讲 sorry, back to the English. Right?
Yeah, I was going to mention, I understood, the only part I understood is you said Spanish translation. I don't know if we mentioned that earlier, that they don't have that ability, but they're working towards having that ability.
Yes.
So that was really, wonderful to see too. And so, with our police department, I believe our fire might be having some access to it also. But it is great because it's the iPad, and it's just like what some of the medical centers are doing now, that you don't have to meet in person. You just talk to someone on an iPad or your phone, but you click this button, and the person appears speaking the language that you requested. So it's just a new, we're moving forward. We're doing things differently, and I think it's great because it's helping our community of the whole, whatever language you prefer. We have those options now, so absolutely, it was a nice day to see.
Yes, it's a nice day. And lastly, actually, I want to promote my advertising for November 17. That's the State of the City in the Mission Playhouse. So hopefully I can use that day to give it to all the residents or community, have the report, what way our whole council or city hall, do the communities, like serve the community, what's going on. At least it will last 1 year, what we do already for the community, and what we do for the future for our community. So I'm really encouraged if people can attend it. And give me the confidence. I still a little bit nervous. I don't know how to do the report, but I have the staff to help me too there. And I have the maybe speeches, but I have a really good confidence for our whole council and the city staff. They do a wonderful job. So help me to have this kind of good confidence to give it to our community report. So if you don't need not the RSVP yet, you still can continue to do that, right? Is that correct? Correct. Okay. All right. No deadline. Okay. And in our Mission Playhouse, nice the theater. Okay. Thank you. And then we're back to the closing section. We still have it, right? Okay. Yep. We still have it. Okay. The next the council meeting is scheduled on the Tuesday, December 6, 2022 at 6:30 p.m. Has been canceled. Instead of the special city council meeting will be held on same day at 7:30 because we have to do the tree light. Okay. So, and the meeting at today the regular meeting adjourned at 8:47 p.m. So we currently move to the closing section, right? Okay. Yeah, meeting adjourned.